I'm joined now by Stuart Fuller, the Chief Commercial Officer at Laude. Hi, Stuart. Thank you
Hello,
very much for talking to me today.
pleasure.
How are you finding the conference so far?
Good, good. Got here just before lunch, so I sat in on the final session before lunch. Looking forward to this afternoon's sessions. These are always good. It's a good opportunity for me from one side of the IP world to learn a little bit more about what's going on the other side.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for being here.
Pleasure.
I will start by asking you, what do you believe the biggest challenges currently facing in the world of IP?
So challenges can be good and bad. Good from a point of view of opportunities that people need to be aware of and adapt, and bad for the fact that some changes can have negative consequences. I think, and I'm sure other people will say exactly the same, they'll say the same two words, which is artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And how AI is being adapted and adopted within the IP space. You just see how much the explosion of IP-driven software solutions, companies, ways of working. It's bringing good challenges, but it's also bringing bad challenges. Certainly, AI is causing some concerns around things like determining legal ownership in terms of IP, cross-border enforcement, especially if you start thinking about patents and about ownership of patents, and also protecting data. So AI is being used for good, but we are perhaps focusing too much on the negative and bad side of IP. And I can understand why. Sorry, AI. I can understand why, because that's the bit that makes the headlines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll touch on AI a little bit further on, but so what sort of conversations do you think need to be had in order to tackle these challenges that we're currently facing?
I think you still need to be focusing on the risk and reward conversations. With clients, understanding what they're trying to achieve, understanding where technology as a whole is a driver towards their business goals and their objectives. So trying to understand that is really important. Then trying to understand is AI internally an enhancer or an inhibitor? How are they trying to adapt AI models to help achieve those business objectives? And then you need to start looking externally about, okay, so what's happening externally? What integrations do they have with AI tools and engines that are causing problems? I think it's really important that all organisations just understand that threat landscape and whether the threat landscape is changing. And is that down to AI, or is that down to just competitive environment, the impact of counterfeit, the impact of other IP infringement, which isn't AI driven or generated. So it's about being open and honest and understanding what those challenges are, and then start thinking about what are the solutions and how do we mitigate the biggest risks. I think for most companies, it's incredibly important to remember that you can't eliminate every risk. I come from a world of domain names and traditional brand protection, counterfeit. For a company to say, look, hey, we're going to eradicate every single counterfeit that's out there, and we're going to use this fantastic AI tool to do that. You've got to be realistic. That's not going to happen. But you need to think about, how do we have the greatest impact for the most cost-effective means and mechanisms? That's where AI can also help.
Yeah.
So it's important to get that balanced view of AI as a problem solver as well as a problem creator.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I've seen the phrase used before, but in art, weirdly, but apparently to destroy is to create, but to create is also to destroy. it seems a bit like AI has the
Mm.
opportunity to do either, which kind of answers my next question, which is so how do you feel the impact of AI is influencing the industry? Do you think it's good and we should embrace?
I think that we've only just scratched the surface
Mm.
with what's happening there, and I think that I don't want to go Hollywood and refer back to films where you've seen AI and various models start taking over the world and stuff like that. But I do think it's important that there has to be a clear strategy as to how a business is going to use AI.
Mm.
I think that is really key, and to have those parameters about this is how we're operating, this is our strategic direction we want to take using AI and trends associated with AI. We've seen the power of some of the more commonly known tools in terms of really simple things like search. A lot of companies now are actually, rather than using traditional search engines, will use AI.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, those AI, those LLMs are pulling the same information. So it's just really important to understand within a business environment the rules around how you're going to use AI and what you're going to use it for. Now, content creation is a really interesting topic because it's who owns the IP.
Mm-hmm.
If you're using a ChatGPT or a Perplexity and you're asking them to create something, it's creating AI.
Mm.
Now, what it might be doing is it might be using 10, 15 different sources to create that document, that picture, or things like that. Who owns the AI? Who owns the IP to that? That's a real challenge. And again, there's a lot of conversations that have been had and will have just around that particular topic. So I think that's a core consideration for any business as well, understanding where IP lies for any content that's being created using AI.
Absolutely. So do you see any other trends emerging that you think are going to be sort of quite big in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that are effectively, wider AI aspects. I think we've only just touched the surface with augmented reality and virtual reality. I think there's a lot that can happen there. And again, there is an underlying principle about using data potentially in a quantum way. There's a term that we're starting to see that again is going to become more mainstream, which is around hyper automation, which is where it's effectively the connectivity of various systems to think of it like a digital conveyor belt construction line, and about how all the bits of data are being integrated in that to get to a final point. We know that data is the most valuable commodity that we have, and I think most businesses have not even gone anywhere near how powerful the data they could be. And hyper automation as a term is around the focus on how to monetize the data that organizations own, how to improve every single thing they do through the data usage they have. Again, I come from the domain industry, the domain name industry, where there used to be far more data available for us, both to provide goods and services to clients, but also to protect brands. The GDPR and other data laws have really restricted that. But using third-party tools, you can bring in more data points. You can use that, and so hyper automation for us is about creating that much more positive, engaging customer journey.
Absolutely. Finally, what is your favourite thing about the Winter IP conference?
I think it's catching up with people within the industry that I haven't seen for a while. We have 3 or 4 slightly different focus conferences we attend, and obviously you see different people depending on different roles. There's 2 or 3 of our clients here, which is great. A couple of our competitors who I know really well, but there's also 2 or 3 of our partners again. So it's a really nice opportunity. It's a good event. It's not too busy. Good focus sessions. So yeah, I think that's, to us, it's a really good way to spend a couple of days. And also, me personally, as I said, I don't really touch the sort of patent side of IP. So it's a really good opportunity to hear some of the key topics, understand a little bit more about what's going on in the industry.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.